Welcome to
Bean Stuff.
Today on Bean Stuff, we are talking about coffee as medicine. And what's the first thing we want to talk? What's the first thing we need to point out, Dad?
Well, the first thing I'd like to point out is that you and I are not doctors
At all.
at all.
And so we're not trying to prescribe coffee as medicine, or tell you that you should do this instead of medicine. This is just more or less some facts and information that we find about coffee that's interesting.
That's right. Some may say the facts, there's other facts out there we don't mention, but that is another thing I'd like to say. Other than I'm not a doctor, I am biased.
Towards coffee.
Towards coffee, that's right. So, and we're all biased towards something, but the good news is that overall, as we look at this topic today of coffee and its purpose of like a medicine, is it good for you, is it bad for you? Generally, coffee, I found through the research, it's good for you. That's good news.
Well, and that's another thing maybe to point out is that we may say something that doesn't seem correct. And so that means that feel free to challenge us. If you think what we said is not correct, we would love to either learn ourselves or maybe teach or whatever. But so, and actually real quick before we go on, I just want to say this is episode number 10.
10? What's that mean?
I don't know if it means much, but we've done 10 episodes. So
That's right. And I'm not quite sure what you're saying there either, Reed. 10. That's, is my 10 different to your 10?
10.
Yeah, I thought you might say someone's going to say something about that.
Well, and I just wanted to thank everybody who's listened to us so far and been supporting us. We really appreciate that. We really do it for people who want to listen and hopefully get something out of it. So thank you so much. But to the meat and potatoes of what we're talking about today, let's start off with what are some of the benefits, or I guess maybe what's the first benefit of coffee you want to talk about, or health benefit, I should say.
Well, most people would, the first health benefit they talk about, and it's well known, it keeps you awake, gives you a little burst of energy, and those are very well known things about coffee.
And it feels to me it's healthier than energy drinks. Like when I think of coffee, I feel like it's very natural.
That's right. It is. In fact, I just printed off a little pamphlet today about just what benefits, or so more the caffeine part of coffee, and how there is so much caffeine in so many of our energy drinks. Particularly, coffee's way down there in some terms. You buy an espresso, it's actually you're getting way less caffeine if we just focus on caffeine for a moment
Per cup. I mean, you could have more cups during the day, and that would then obviously change it.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I mean, it does give you that boost. It's a natural happening caffeine. I think in our decaffeinated coffee episode, we talked about caffeine being extracted for things like energy drinks and soda and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But, it starts with that already in it. And
probably I should say here, too, that when we talk about the medicinal properties of coffee, some of the good benefits of coffee, I'm really talking here about black coffee.
That's true. If you're adding cream, you're adding sugar, you're adding half and half.
Yeah, all sorts of things you can put in there.
Sweeteners or different, if you're adding caramel syrup and everything, there are different things. Obviously, sugar's
a big one, yeah.
Right. So I guess that's a good thing that I didn't think about for the episode, but it is black coffee that we're talking about. Not your triple shot mocha latte with soy milk.
That's right.
Gotcha.
Sounds a bit small, but anyway.
And I might be jumping around our notes here, but I think I remember reading also that I did a review in high school, I think. Oh, nice. And coffee has some part to do with it helps to speed up your metabolism, I read.
That's right.
I reported on it, so hopefully I was.
Oh, no,
was I wrong?
No, you're right. It does increase metabolism, and that's a good thing generally. And we'll probably say over and over again, moderation is good, and it would increase your metabolism to a good point, etc. But as soon as you go over a certain point, and it's different for everybody,
right.
Of how much you have, it suddenly starts to the word harmful starts coming up, and it may not be a good thing for you that you're having so much.
Well, and that's the same thing with water. I mean, water's good for you, but you can also drown in it.
Correct. Yes.
So I'm impressed with coffee already. There's two things already cropped up that that seem to be quite good. So it's keeping you up. Well,
Yeah.
that could be bad, I guess.
That could be bad, yes.
But it does have a property of waking up. And I think even in our history of coffee episode, we talked about that factor alone being a proponent that actually prolonged the use of coffee and actually introduced it into different countries and that kind of thing.
That's right. One of the earlier sessions we talked about monks having coffee, and they found it was wonderful because it kept them up all night for praying.
Right.
And I've heard, this is a little tidbit here, that for sleeping through the day, if you're able to have a half hour sleep midday, which is probably really good for you and for the worker. I've heard, and I've tried this, I have a shot of espresso before I go have my half hour sleep.
Yeah.
So that I have that, go to sleep. It takes about 20 minutes, 25 minutes for the caffeine part of the coffee to take effect, so that if you have half an hour sleep, you wake up and suddenly the caffeine takes effect. You are not only refreshed from your sleep, but for the caffeine too.
Well, and I think, I read somewhere 30, 20 minutes if you drink something. That's how long it takes to kick in. So if you can work in a power nap, you can wake up and ride not only the effect of your coffee, but also wake up the effect of your nap as well.
That's right. Now I just have to stop the carbohydrates before, but in my lunch.
No, you can't have a burger and then coffee.
Yeah.
They don't cancel each other out.
Yeah.
And what's this we have about the liver in our notes here? It says something about it reduces the risk of, I can't even pronounce that word. It's
I'm not quite sure where you are, Reed. Liver. You must be.
I think it's right there. Cirrhosis.
Oh yeah, I see where
What
you
is
are.
cirrhosis?
You've jumped about four spots down. Got me all confused. I thought we were going to talk about living longer and things like that, but okay.
Oh, those are good things too.
They are. Cirrhosis, yeah. I mean, all these things they've done studies on now, and what we're finding is there's always a percentage put with it. And like cirrhosis, a liver disease, often caused by heavy alcohol, they've found that if you could even drink 1 cup a day, shows here's the first percentage, 22% reduced risk from cirrhosis.
And do you know what cirrhosis is? I don't.
Well, I don't know exactly what it is. As I said, it's a liver disease caused by abuse of alcohol, basically.
Gotcha. So it attacks the liver.
Yes.
So, and you said 22% with 1 cup of coffee a day.
Well, it gets better. There's more.
Can't.
It can, because if they say you go up to 2 daily cups, you get towards a 43% reduced risk. Go up to 3 cups, 57. 4 cups, 65.
It just keeps getting better.
Well,
does it stop?
I think it should probably stop there.
If you're at 6 cups of coffee just for your liver,
you've got other problems that probably you may start causing.
Sleep issues.
Yes.
Oh wow! So you said 6 cups of coffee is 57%.
That's right. That's what the science stuff. And I would mention too, I'm not going to give you all the science journals and stuff. I've sort of got stuff from many places, probably forgotten some of them, but you can easily Google some of the stuff and see, okay, that's what he's saying, and I don't agree with that health magazine or that medicine journal.
There's a lot of differing opinions in that.
There's the nice thing in the last, probably I've been in the coffee industry 20 years or whatever, but the last 10 years there's been a lot of science out there that's been really helpful, and it always goes backwards and forwards, but the tendency seems to be saying coffee is not as bad as we think. In fact, it could be better for us. But again, moderation seems to be the word to come with.
Well, and I think going back to what we said earlier as well, that's black coffee.
Yes.
There's a lot of side effects to just sugar in coffee, those kind of things. That's going to really tip the scales oppositely, in an opposite direction.
That's right. Some people say to me, "Oh, my doctor, they come in, I need decaffeinated coffee," which is fine. I don't mind that. We've done a podcast on that.
You can get some good stuff.
There is. But they say their doctor told them to cut off the caffeine, or need to stop that, and therefore you need to stop the coffee. And my question usually is, well, that's fine. Did he tell you to stop drinking energy drinks? Did he tell you to stop eating chocolate? I mean, there's many places you can get caffeine from. Coffee's not the only place. So we need to be a little more balanced and over the board rather than just, let's cut out coffee. I told you I'm biased, by the way.
Strongly biased. We can't even tell.
Yes.
No. Well, and I think I'll put a link to the that little graph thing that you had of like the different drinks and the different
Oh,
caffeine
right, yes,
levels.
yeah.
Because it is interesting. Coffee is very near the bottom. Not to say that coffee's not a risk of too much
Right.
caffeine, because you could have too much of it.
Yes.
But it is interesting to put it in perspective to say, caffeine is not necessarily the biggest part of coffee.
Right. And as we talk about the medicinal properties, benefits of coffee, caffeine's we're not trying to isolate caffeine out as the only thing.
Right.
There's other things that are going on that will help with our health.
Right. Caffeine is just one aspect of that.
Yes, yes.
So I was jumping ahead and all over the place. I'll get back onto track here.
Okay.
Well, oh man, the question that everybody's going to want to ask, and
Yes,
that I also want
yes.
to ask
You
is,
got, yeah, say it, go on.
is it going to stop me growing?
Oh, the stop growing one. Well, if you look at me, you'd probably
The answer
say
would be yes.
Yes, that's right. But the good news is, if you look at you, the answer is no problem. Because
And if I'm your son,
yes,
well, it could have been the coffee, but I mean, yes, there is hope.
there.
What is
there
the truth? What do you know?
Oh, there is. I think that probably that would have to go into the category of myth. Really, again,
Yeah.
you don't want to give suddenly kids or whatever age your kid is, but you don't want to suddenly just drink coffee.
Right.
But there is no real evidence out there that it is damaging to the coffee, as you evidence of that you had when you had your first coffee.
8?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, when did you have your first espresso?
8?
Yeah. Okay, there you go. I rest my case.
Well, I'm getting off topic, but the first espresso you made me, you used sour milk. Not on purpose, on accident.
Oh,
And then the second
I'm
coffee
sorry.
you made me, or one of the very first preliminary coffees, we had actually put salt in the sugar
Man, we had a bad
bowl
run, didn't we?
instead of sugar on accident again. So I had salt in the coffee. That was back when you put sugar in it.
Maybe
just for me.
Don't quiet, please.
But anyway, so it's not going to stunt your growth. There's no substantial evidence to prove that it would.
No, that's a myth. That's one of the myths out there.
Well, I'm glad that that's a myth.
Yeah.
And what about my years on this beautiful earth? How many can I make that a little bit? Can I extend that with coffee?
Well, the evidence that's come in, and as I say, you need to check this out and see what you think yourself. But
Right.
It seems like the general evidence is yes. You can live longer by drinking coffee. Isn't that amazing?
And
You can still get run over, by the way, or fall off a
right?
cliff.
It doesn't prevent those things.
No.
And I guess, do we know why it's helping? Like, is it some of it's like antibiotic properties, or not
Well,
antibiotic, but more like
You're probably thinking the word antioxidants.
that's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Yes, and that's actually coffee has a big proponent of is antioxidant, which we know now that those tend to be good things. And I think now I don't know if this is true or not, but I remember
isn't it pomegranates have a lot of antioxidants?
well, yeah, excellent. Oranges, all that sort of thing. But coffee has more antioxidants than eating an orange does. So there you go.
So you mean all those times Mom told me to eat fruit, I could have just had a cup of coffee?
Yeah.
Do you have any numbers about living longer? Any statistics that we can?
Oh yeah,
that we can
there's
put
studies out. I mean, I say there's studies out there, but hey,
Just broad strokes.
yeah,
there
like,
are studies.
How about 500,000 people? I mean, that's a lot of people out
That's a
there.
few. That's a few.
For 16 years, so you got 500,000
Right.
people, 16 years,
That's a long study.
and I don't know the men who drank coffee or three or more cups a day. That they were 12% less likely to die. Now, yeah. By the way, the woman was 7% less likely to die. I don't know how they.
How do they classify dying being caused by? My question is, how do they differentiate between coffee preventing the death as opposed to coffee not preventing it? Like, was it? I mean, it's obviously not. Oh, he was awake at the wheel because he had a cup of coffee, but internal related illness,
Yeah,
maybe.
I know. There's parts of that you'd have to look at the study to see how they got to that actual conclusion. I think they did try and best they could, take away some to make it sort of standard or make it
Right.
so it wasn't sort of like, oh, that's obviously wrong. It's not a good scientific sort of.
But there was a study with a large amount of people
Yes.
that produced a statistic for us.
And whatever part you want to look at, that was one conclusion.
And I'm sure it's something people can Google too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So 12% less likely to die. So I mean, I would say off the bat,
Yes.
you know, people who say I don't like coffee should try good coffee. And if you truly don't like it, you don't have to have it.
That's right.
And number two,
Yes.
if you like it, well, hot dang, there's a lot of good reasons to drink it.
Exactly.
It'll make you live longer.
Exactly. I agree.
I mean, people drink like buttermilk and stuff. I don't like that.
And,
but
and that
coffee.
You're sort of deciding, well, okay, if you're already drinking coffee, well, it's fine. And shall I stop it or have some medicine, some tablets or something to help me with this certain, like diabetes type 2, for instance? Coffee's known to be very helpful for that. So,
Which we are not a doctor about. We do not recommend missing your diabetes medication.
no, I'm not saying miss your diabetes. I'm talking about more the onset of diabetes. It's
Right.
found that coffee is helpful to again, reducing the possibility of that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's great. And I mean, there are, man, our notes today are just chock-a-block.
Yeah, they are chock-a-block. Chaka.
Chaka. They're very full of just so many great things. So let's just move straight to the next one.
Okay, what's the next one?
Alzheimer. I always want to say old-timers.
I know.
But it's Alzheimer's.
Yes.
Or some, and dementia.
And dementia, which is closely
Those
related.
two different ones
Yeah,
there.
Yeah.
So what does coffee do for those?
Well, again...
And maybe this is part of how it makes you live longer because it helps with things like Alzheimer's and
Exactly.
dementia.
I'm sure that's in there. So that makes sense what you're saying, Reed. But the studies about that sort of, again, if you're drinking coffee, regular coffee, and when I say regular, I mean, it depends, but a lot
I
of
mean
these-
like straight coffee, not
black
like
coffee, but sort of like 4 to 5 cups probably is, that's usually that's
How many cups would you have a day?
I probably funny good question. I probably only have 2 cups a day.
Are they big cups?
No, they're small. They're like
Very,
5
very-
ounce. But what I say is the 2 cups I have. The first one I have in the morning around about 6 or whenever I wake up, and it is so good. It keeps me going to 12. I have another one at midday, and I'm fine.
Well,
So
and
I
you
think-
also sometimes do coffee cuppings and stuff like that.
Oh, you're right. In fact, today I cupped 4 different Kenyan coffees. So
So there's your coffee intake.
okay, but we're only sipping little tiny bits in the cupping.
Right. That's true. That's true.
So I didn't say.
But yeah, how does it help with
Well,
Alzheimer's?
they say again, approximately 16% less likely to suffer from that and dementia, or even I like this one, or cognitive decline, able to think and think logically, sort of stuff. There's a 16% less likely.
Wow.
These are reasons why I drink coffee. I'm not sure if it's working, but.
But imagine what it would be like without the coffee.
Good point. Good point.
Don't stop now. Wow, so it actually does. Studies have shown, again, broad strokes of studies here,
yeah.
but that it is 16%, or helpful in to be 16% less likely for cognitive decline, which I guess would include Alzheimer's and dementia.
Yes, correct.
Wow.
Yeah, and there's many other diseases out there, and this is only a percentage. But so all I guess we're saying in today's episode is that there's possibilities, strong possibilities, that coffee's
Right.
not as bad as we may think. And I didn't say too, if you're pregnant, a child, if you're
Pregnant with a child?
pregnant with a child, or nursing is what I was going to say, a child,
uh-huh.
probably a good idea not to have coffee.
Right. I mean,
It's
and
just
if your doctor
common,
tells you not to have coffee,
Yeah.
definitely don't
common sense.
go against what your doctor
Yeah.
says.
Ask him if he's having chocolate.
Well, and there's just no downside to it, unless obviously there's a medical reason or you just don't like it or those kind of things. But I've even heard that it can help with cancer.
Wow, there's some pretty big and vast studies out there on cancer and coffee. It's interesting stuff.
And again,
it
it's not just caffeine; it's coffee as a
the
holistic
whole thing, exactly.
Yeah.
And they think caffeine may be something to do with that. And it's not a cure for cancer.
Right, and
It's
that's
nothing like that. No.
It's not, and I guess I would say this as well. Coffee is not a replacement for medication, but it does have healthy properties that are beneficial to you, much like healthy foods, like
Yep, exactly.
vegetables.
Your vegetables, having water, having a cup
Pomegranates.
pomegranate. Okay, whatever.
I think they have a lot of
Do
good.
they?
things.
Oh, good. I'm
I
going to
don't know
buy
for
some
sure.
later.
Yeah.
But and all these things, they just reduce the risk. They don't cure it like the cancer one. There's stuff out there that would say 18% had a reduced risk of cancer.
80 or 18?
18, sorry,
18,
1-8. But it's a little more specific than that, and it talks about.
It talks about like liver cancer specifically.
Yeah, there's different types of cancers as those who have that unfortunate disease will know about, and there's just reduced risk of actually catching it's not the right word of getting some of those diseases.
It does reduce your risk of having cancer.
And cancer, like when I say the 15% of liver cancer.
Right. And I think, man, there's a lot of big words in these notes today, but 8% reduced risk for
endometrial.
Thank you.
That's
yes,
right.
That exactly. That's what I was going to say.
I thought you might be trying to say that one. I probably said it wrong too, but whatever.
Well, and here's something I find interesting because I think of Parkinson's, which you think of that disease.
Yes.
And maybe I'm thinking Parkinson's wrong, but Parkinson's is like uncontrolled movements in some fashion.
Yeah, you're on the right track.
Ways.
Yes.
And I think of coffee, and if I have too much coffee, I can be very jittery.
Correct, and that is
it's
one of those bad side effects. Yes.
So I immediately think, oh, that wouldn't be good for someone with Parkinson's because it's already, if they're already having struggled to control movement in their muscles or that kind of thing, maybe the coffee wouldn't be a good thing to add into that.
That's interestingly enough, probably from my research, the two big ones that coffee has a reduced risk of and therefore has a positive attribute towards would be type 2 diabetes and Parkinson would be the other one. That is,
those are like the two well-known
ones that coffee definitely has a benefit towards those two diseases.
Interesting. Okay, so and I guess what is there an amount or anything?
Well,
I guess more with Parkinson's that like the studies
I
found
mean,
this amount or something was helpful.
You can look at a number of this Parkinson's and type 2 diabetes have a lot of studies with them, so you could look at the research and see what if you're a male, if you're a female, it's going to be different. If what weight you are, it's going to make a difference. There's a lot of things that come into that, and of course there's hereditary and a lot of things. But again, I would be thinking 3 to 4, 5 cups a day is going to make some, perhaps, and I use that word not lightly, but perhaps may make some sort of difference particularly onto the onset of these diseases.
Well, and it's something like a consistent coffee drinker. Studies were showing that it helped to reduce the onset of Parkinson's by 8 years.
That's right. So it stopped it coming on. There was an average 8 years, but it's sort of the people they studied they were 8 years before they got it compared to other people of the same sex and age.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, and it's, I think the biggest thing is consistency as well. It's not, just one coffee's going to do all that for you.
Right.
And again, maybe for you, coffee will do none of that. Like it's not like this is just as a general populace. These are some of the things that have kind of have been studied and come up. Heart disease too.
Oh yeah, I was just looking to my conclusions actually, not that we're finishing.
Oh wow, you're getting ahead of the game.
I am. Oh, we'll get there later on, but I basically talk about if you don't drink coffee, perhaps don't start. I don't care.
You sound like you're a little upset about that.
A little bit.
Don't care.
But my point would be, perhaps it does have some benefits that you may do better with, and rather than take more medication, perhaps just try a little coffee.
Side note to that, we're not doctors. Don't expect us to fix your problems.
No. And if you're going to try coffee, I would try good coffee, fresh coffee. Check past podcasts.
And I think that there is. I think that maybe this is a side note to great coffee is coffee. I guess more of this would be like a selling point for coffee as a whole. Not necessarily coffee as a medicine. Because I think coffee in general, it's like, maybe you've had bad coffee, you don't like coffee. And these are just some reasons. It's like when someone tells you how to eat healthy. Mm-hmm. A lot of times you don't want to eat those foods. Mm-hmm. But the more benefits there are, the more health, things that are good for you, the more reason it gives you to say, you know what, maybe I should give that a shot. Maybe I should give that a try. Not because I want to cure all these things, but, it's got these benefits. It couldn't hurt.
Probably not too unlike vitamins.
Vitamins.
Some say that they do nothing. Some say you take a vitamin D. Do vitamin C may help. Of course, you don't want to just waste your money on stuff you don't need. On a health benefit of coffee, I remember, that would be 6+ years ago.
Yeah.
There was a big thing. There was a doctor on TV. What's his name?
Dr. Oz?
Yes, it was him. And others who talked about caffeine reducing weight. Well, people got onto that one really quickly, including Paul Allen. So people were buying tablets of caffeine coffee, like tablets, coffee, not pure
Not
caffeine.
caffeine.
No,
I was
no.
going to say, that might really mess you
Coffee
up.
tablets, they have a little bit of caffeine in them, obviously.
Right.
And I thought, I don't need to do that.
You've got it made.
I got it made. I got all this green bags of coffee at work. So what did I do? I got some green coffee beans. They're very hard and very small before they're roasted. And I put it into a grinder, ground it up, and I started eating the 2 tablespoons a day or whatever.
Well, it's kind of like a mushy paste at that point when it's green coffee.
Well, it was still pretty hard and pretty solid, actually. Don't do this at home, by the way. It ruins your grinder.
Oh, it just gets everywhere.
Well, no. It's
No?
like, as I say, beans are very hard like stones, and it just wrecks. If you've got a burr grinder, it just does havoc on them.
Wow. Well, and I think I remember at one point you had green coffee extract pills
I looked at
or
those.
some supplement. Like
Well,
that.
no, I looked at getting those, but then I said I could do this myself. By the way, I'm still the same weight as I was.
Well, and I think that's the whole. Coffee as medicine maybe is a little misleading, but it's not. It's like eating. It's not. You have to exercise and do all sorts of stuff.
Exactly.
Coffee is not
Yeah.
the one and all
No.
kind of fix it.
Yeah.
But it is. I think it's cool to see some of the benefits for coffee. And again, black coffee. If you start adding milk and sugar, those are all going to have their own subset of things that they bring with them.
Exactly.
But coffee on its own is a beneficial substance.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't even looked at other studies that are on asthma, which is, it's in certain parts of the world. That's a big thing, asthma. We haven't looked at hydration. There's a myth out there, hydration, that used to be you drink coffee, you're going to get dehydrated very quickly. But they have found that's a myth, and that drinking coffee does not do that to you.
Well, and I think, and I could be wrong, but isn't it like you can count the first 5 cups of coffee as as hydrating intake of liquids, but then past that it's not.
Yeah, probably once again in moderation, but excess is not going to be helpful. And don't forget, your coffee that you're making is probably 98% of it, or 99, whatever it is, water.
Right, you're putting a lot of water through that, and that's extracting whatever's in the bean.
Yeah.
It's not. Yeah, it's not the actual. Yeah, it's 90% water or whatever, 99%.
Yeah, one benefit is, as I say, is many benefits.
Yeah.
I like the one I remember reading about for your teeth, and it helps
For your teeth. I would have thought coffee would give me stains on my teeth.
Oh, that's a bad side of coffee. It really does stain your teeth.
So what's it good for your teeth for then?
Good for your teeth. Cavities and plaque can be reduced by coffee consumption. How about that?
Oh my!
Yeah,
but without sugar in your coffee,
that's
gonna counteract the
well,
coffee.
on the show, we're talking about black coffee here,
right.
And I would say if you have coffee, sure, brush your teeth fairly quickly afterwards. The downside of that is you lose some of that aftertaste because now you've got this minty taste rather than the coffee taste that you really wanted in the first place.
So it's better to brush after than before the teeth, or before you drink the coffee.
Yeah, I would drink. Brush teeth afterwards.
If you do it before, yeah. Oof.
No.
Well, and I think that, maybe a lot of this, one of the other things it kind of points out is if you are drinking coffee with a lot of different flavorings or a lot of different milks and, different things in it, this is maybe, a step towards reducing that, which can be helpful in and of its own by getting rid of those sweeteners or those different things in the coffee. And if you find you're not liking the coffee, well, maybe you don't like coffee, or maybe it's time to start kind of digging into some more quality or specialty coffee.
Correct.
And finding something that's a little bit better that does taste good on its own.
One thing I just realized too, Reed, another I talked about type 2 diabetes, and we haven't really even talked about, even just low to say up front that it is very helpful to preventing that. Another one is that whole antioxidant property of coffee, which they still don't know all the health benefits of antioxidants, but coffee does do that.
Yeah, and I mean, I think there are just, and there's so many that we haven't even covered.
No, I know. That's why you'll need to go to Google. You'll need to go and do your own research.
And in that trusted research. There's probably a lot of like the short, it's gonna stunt your growth is a myth that is out there. So there are, be leery of what you find on the internet. If someone hasn't told you that already, don't trust everything you read.
That's right. And did we say we're not doctors?
Well, yes, we are 100% not doctors.
Yeah, good.
I have a 0 doctors, or I'm 0% doctor.
Well, your grandfather was a chemist, a pharmacist.
Yeah, let's not get into that because I don't want to be blamed for anything.
Okay, sorry. Yeah.
But I mean, there are just so many benefits, and if there is a benefit that you find that we didn't mention, which I guarantee that there is, I mean, definitely feel free to let us know. We would also love, and we don't know everything, but let us know. Send it to us on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. We're also on YouTube now.
Oh, right, yes.
Just our audio, so it's a little. I apologize. We'll hopefully get some videos out soon, but feel free to let us know. Or, and the biggest thing for us is leaving comments on whichever platform you choose to listen to for your podcast, whether it be Stitcher, Overcast, or iTunes, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast. If you can leave comments and that kind of thing, that really does help us. We're not so much concerned about ratings and stuff. We don't want to be, telling you to do that, but we really want to make something that's the best that we can for you.
Yes. I want to say one more thing.
Yeah, go for it.
If people out there, if sometimes we all go through this, we get a little depressed at sometimes.
Oh, getting deep.
Yeah, a little deep here.
A little special time with Paul.
Yeah, that's right. But I was really intrigued by one of the real large studies out there. I think it was like 50,000 women showed that drinking at least 1 cup each week, not day now, but each week, was associated with 15% reduced rate of depression, or reduced risk of depression. Drinking 2 to 3 cups per day was associated with 20% reduced risk. And then suicide went down too. It's a hard topic, and this is nowhere talking about the problems and the details of
right.
suicide.
No, and yeah, absolutely.
But they have found that sort of like with depression, coffee drinkers were, I don't know where they get this from, and this is probably like 45% less likely to die from suicide. But that's the type of one you've got to be very careful with. I say that, I don't mean to say it flippantly because I'm saying it. So just be careful. If you've got problems of depression or suicide, I would look for help. No, I don't think coffee's the answer.
Definitely. Seek professional help for
Correct.
that. The coffee is not what you should be going to for that. Yeah, I mean, there are just so many good things about coffee. You could just go on and on and on.
I could. I am a bit, but yeah, it's all right.
Yeah. Well, this is episode number 10. We've made it to we're making it into the double digits.
That's wonderful.
And we hope that you're enjoying it. We're enjoying making it. We're actually trying out some new microphones today.
That's right.
New recording setup. So hopefully it sounds better. We're hoping to get that more consistent for you. And but yeah, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for taking the time to hear us out today. And we hope that you can join us on the next podcast. But thank you so much. Have a good one.